Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, people of all races, colors, and creeds, welcome back to the greatest show on earth. The greatest show on earth. We're not afraid to say it here on the Investigative Journal. Greg Anthony here, and why are we the greatest show on earth? Because we're better than going into a confessional and getting your sins forgiven by a priest who's molested 3,500 children. Isn't that something? We're better. Yes, better than listening to the Pope do an exorcism in Vatican Square with nobody there, and then the devil saying, boy, ain't that the pot, calling the kettle black. I got to laugh. We are being played, folks. Let me interrupt this show for a global message. Folks, you're experiencing a global 9/11. Just like the state-sponsored 9/11 false flag operation was used to create the American security state, COVID-1984 is being carried out to foist a global security superstar on the entire planetary civilization as a precursor to a one-world government. Every single move made by the New World Order globalist cabal during the execution of this staged pandemic and global psyops has been planned well in advance. That's because COVID-84, 1984, represents the culmination of 100 years of biowarfare waged against the human race. This is a special broadcast brought to you by the Freedom People of the United States of America, sponsored by General Slats Grobnik. Wow, folks. This guy's getting serious. He sent me a message. I got to continue. Let me hit it here. It's not just a depopulation bioweapon as the 1918 Spanish flu was. Watch every twist and turn of this classic problem, reaction, solution, operation, especially as it's falsely reported by the CIA's Mockingbird media. Clock every New World Order outcome, both big and small, as each piece fits perfectly into the pre-planned prison planet puzzle. That's why they're calling it a plandemic, but it's also a scandemic. This was a public service announcement by General Slats Grobnik, the head of the Second American Revolution. That message was brought to you by an intelligence analyst and former U.S. Army officer. Okay, there we have it. I had to get that public service message out to you. So there you go. There you got it all. You don't need to know anything else. You're being scammed, on a global level. Now, how do I know this? Well, I've been reading as I sit here. If you're following the Greg Anthony Show, you know that I've been kidnapped. I'm put in a Kansas hotel. It's Tuesday. I'm supposed to be out of this hotel. I've been here for 6 days going to see my good buddy Slats Grobnik. Yes, General Slats Grobnik, who is now starting the Second American Revolution before the whole world goes to hell in a handbasket. And that's what's happening. So I want to explain Slats's position. He has built the Roman Colosseum in a Kansas cornfield. Now that may be a stretch for you to believe, but it's true. Just like you listen to the government every day tell you these things about COVID-19. So if you believe that, why can't you believe this? And the reason is most people will side with the government because they're big, they're strong. They say they're going to help you. And in a few days, you'll get your $1,200 check. So you're going to believe them. Slats can't send you a $1,200 check. He put all his money into building the replica Roman Colosseum. It's exactly the way it looked back during the days of the Roman Empire. Over 100,000 seats, set up for gladiators to come and fight to their death. However, his idea was to put these scoundrels of the Vatican Jesuit-led New World Order in that arena so that people can finally watch them. fight to the death, instead of them watching people fight to the death and killing people for hundreds of years with their pre-planned, what is it, New World Order, globalist cabal to take over the world. Now, that's such a big goal that people have a hard time believing it. But believe it. Look at what they did to the world right now. They shut it down over a common cough and a flu. And that's where this gets interesting. So, Slats Grobnik is over there. I have been kidnapped because I've been the only one writing about him. He's a friend of mine, goes way back to Chicago. And I'll someday tell you how I met Slats, where he came from. I'll also tell you that I give good credit to my good friend, Mike Royko. I say that, not that I knew Mike, but he was kind of my mentor. I loved reading his column. And he first reported about Slats Grobnik, and I met Slats after Mike passed away. And God rest his soul. So Slats Grobnik has continued. And he has built this Coliseum so that you can finally get some satisfaction out of watching Bush and Clinton. And I asked Slats, are you really going to let them kill each other? He said, no. I'm just going to humiliate them like they've humiliated us over all these years. I said, good, Slats, I've seen enough bloodshed. But anyway, so he did this COVID virus came, now he can't fill any of the seats, and he decided this was the end of it when they stopped baseball. When he could not watch his beloved Cubs, he said, give me baseball or give me death. And the Second American Revolution was on. I reported, and you can go to my 4-part series so far. It's going to be picked up by Netflix, by the way. You can read about the Second American Revolution and where we sit. I wrote my last piece yesterday, and it mentioned that I will be going to see Slats with some orders from the decision maker. I gave him that title because he's the top COVID virus boss going around and taking all people like me and trying to get rid of them, to make it easy for you. So they've given me a chore first, and that's to go to the Coliseum, meet with Slats. And I have some orders, and I'm not to tell you until we meet, and I'm supposed to meet him later today. I'm waiting for the limousine, or I should say the cartel car, to take me over to the Coliseum, which I'm looking forward to seeing. All these years I've been writing about it, I've never seen it. And apparently, it's quite a spectacle. And Slats must be there, because the last I heard from him, I have not been able to email or anything. The last I heard from him, he was basically at the Coliseum waiting. He sent out 160 million emails and texts to get people to join his revolution, and I'm looking forward to seeing the response. Now, okay, so that's where I sit. I'm in a hotel, well taken care of by the cartels, working along with the COVID police and the CIA and the Jesuits and the Criminal Doctors Commission, the CDC, along with the WHO, and that not the band, but the World Health Organization that Mr. Trump doesn't like anymore. And this is the perfect situation, and I've got to use some time here before I get into some serious business. Yep, I'm sitting here in this hotel room, and it's driving me crazy. I know you guys are at home too. What are we at home for? Because this is the greatest, I'm telling you, what they did here. I've got to give the director Luigi Franconi of the Jesuits over at Georgetown, who's really directing this whole sitcom they're putting out, and that's what I call it. Because they've got it real. It's a reality show. I don't know what's real, what's not real, and that's the beauty behind this. And they're playing what I call the Hegelian dialectic perfectly here. And let me explain what I mean. Because if you, as a thinking individual, want to go out and figure out what's going on, you've got a whole bunch of places to look. You got the government, you got the mainstream propaganda media taking sides, of course, depending on what they're told. We got the anti-Trump and the Trump people. Then you have a whole assortment of things going on the internet. And really what's going on here, you don't know if this is a real virus, where it came from, or whether it is really just a hoax and just like the common flu. So they've given you a lot of things to think about. For example, today I went to a story that interested me because it said this thing is worse than anything ever imaginable. And they've related this now to North Carolina. This is true. These stories are going around now. Whether they're true or not, who knows? And that's the beauty. And this was an event, and I should go and get the story here for you before I mess it up. I got a minute here. Okay, so I'm going to just make it simple. What director, Jesuit film director, who's doing this reality show has done is he's masterminded a situation here where they've given you every possible scenario, from the most serious deadly virus to nothing at all. And then we've got, in between that, we've got doctors saying the hospitals are filled to the rooftops, others saying this is crazy. We got others saying there's millions of these cases, others saying that there's none. Basically, they're labeling everybody a COVID virus death. Like I've mentioned, yeah, even that pig, that 300-pound pig that fell on that guy who from a rooftop, and he was labeled, as a COVID virus death. Yeah, and I've reported on him, but I've forgotten the pig, and I thought he may have something to say about it. Well, animal rights people were mad at me over this, and I told them, don't worry, the pig's fall was cushioned by the man. The pig survived. People tried to get the pig, and in fact were mad at the pig for killing the man. And the pig got away, and he's fine. I've got a report that he will be put in a place where he'll never be eaten, okay? He's become a very famous 300-pound pig. But the pig is fine for all the animal rights people out there, okay? Now, I've been covering every possible scenario of this thing in kind of a lighthearted manner, and also the ramifications of it, and all the little things that surround this thing, like it being a reality show, scripted, pandemic, scandemic, call it what you wish. And then also a lot of things, going on. For example, my idea of a suicide channel, which I will get to in a minute. I've got a lot of time here in this hotel waiting for these cartel people to take me. They usually take you in one of these black SUVs, right? Waiting for that. And I've got a few hours here, and they're letting me do my show. I hope I can do it after I talk to Slats tomorrow, or today, or whenever I get out of here, because they've given us some crazy orders. They're telling me they don't want any more dissent. And I go, why? There's so much, nobody knows what's going on anyway, so nobody's going to believe anybody. And that's the masterminded Mr. Franconi, Luigi, this Jesuit director at Georgetown, who has put this together. And I've learned this because I kind of run an organization called Inside Georgetown. It's kind of like Inside Hollywood, trying to ferret out the truth from fiction, which is difficult because the truth doesn't have to stick to any kind of possibilities anymore. They can just say what they want. But here they've given you a plethora of things to think about. So in the end, you don't know what's going on. And that's the beauty behind this, Mr. Franconi. And, for example, I've been talking about so many different things, how the government is telling us this is dangerous, how many cases are out there, etc. Then I'm showing that other doctors and people are saying this is really nothing more than the common flu, and the death rate is just the same as if it never even happened, except they've locked down the whole world, which is being overlooked. And you know it as well as I do. How many days we've been sitting here talking about this? While what's going on in the rest of the world? What, ISIS has apparently gone to sleep. They're afraid to go out. Anybody that's attacking Hamas is afraid to go outside because of the cough. They're not attacking Israel. I mean, the whole world stage has been turned upside down, and I'm a little upset. I get enjoyment out of watching all these people run around like crazy idiots with bombs and things, And, I can't do anything about it, but what are you supposed to do? I mean, they've been perpetuating war and havoc for as long as I've been alive and hundreds of years before that. I mean, they orchestrated the First World War, the Second World War. Now we're looking at World War III. Yeah, there's going to be something. This isn't just, they're not investing all this time and energy just to let us go merrily free when they go, okay, you can go outside and play now. And then you think it's going to be all over. There's going to be restrictions, there's going to be things, and then there's going to be something bigger. And as Henry Kissinger just recently said, this guy, he never dies. He's like 96. Now, does he have any pre-existing conditions? Do they let him go out? Yeah. I mean, they're going all over the place. And that brings up a good question. Air traffic. I got to go on a private jet by the cartel, and a lot of people were, oh, you're so lucky. I wish they'd kidnap me out of here. I said, you don't want to be kidnapped and have a hood put over your head. And by the way, go to my 4-part series on the Second American Revolution on greganthonysjournal.wordpress.com. Get everything. Every possible story here, every possible, lighthearted piece of humor that I could think of to get us out of this situation. And it's just been crazy because this country is obsessed with security, safety, crime. Now it's germs. I mean, there's no way out of this. I mean, I went out the other day. My God, I was afraid to go into a restaurant. I sneezed right before that. The guy in the car next to me called the police. The police came and they said, you are a hazard. Get your butt home. Huh, you believe this? That's what's going on in the world. And then pretty soon they're going to start asking for your vaccination certificate. They're going to ask for your global ID. They're going to ask, why do you even go out anymore? I mean, they're going to make it so hard to go out, you don't want to go out anymore. That's my plan. That's what I think they're doing. And anyway, I hope Slats has a good idea here because he told me really, he said, Greg, I remember this, the last thing he said to me, I haven't even reported on this. He said, I'm starting this revolution, and I hope people respond, and I hope we can take back our country, but I don't know. It's been gone a long time before this. And he said, I'm already looking for an escape route for those of us who really can't live in this world anymore. And I said, Slats, what are you talking about, this world? There's only one world. He said, no. There's other places. Oh, and I said, you're thinking like Elon Musk and you want to go up in his rocket ship. He says, no, it isn't up that I'm going. I'm going west, my friend. I said, well, they already did during the covered wagon days, and they ended up at the ocean. He said, I'm going west. You figure that out. And I said, are you going to just keep going? He said, yes. Going west till I can't go any farther. All right. You may want to explore that, Slats. Okay. He's a weird dude, but, all the things he's told me over the years have somehow come true. Even though we never believed him 30 years ago, when he told us about this outbreak, believe it or not, he said they will crack down and claim their world, and they'll use it in some kind of way that you're never going to think of. And boy, did Luigi Franconi come up with this reality show, the COVID-19 pandemic, scandemic reality show where everybody's involved. But anyway, the Hegelian dialectic, why this is such a masterminded plot, scheme, whatever you call it, is that you go from every possibility, it's very serious, who did it, you'll never know, to nothing. Right? And so in the meantime, because you don't know, you kind of err on the side of, like you're a Christian that's you're a lukewarm Christian. So right before you die, you go, okay, I think I'll believe in God just in case, and then you die. It's the same thing here. Well, you know what? I think I'll wash my hands just in case. I think I'll put the sanitizer on 100 million times today just in case. I think I will not sneeze in public, just in case they arrest me. So everything's just in case. And one of the stories that's coming out now is during the last half of March, a dozen or more massive Russian air transport planes went to Italy. And basically, this article saying this is how they're doing this. Let us begin with hard truth. COVID-19 is endlessly worse than seasonal influenza, right? And it's a very serious disease, misreported. And so now they're saying that Trump is misreporting it. All these people are downplaying it when it's really serious. And they've got it to a point where now that's been created in some lab in North Carolina, and they put together all of these different viruses against the will of the American people. And they did it this way, okay? Here's what they said. They said China claims a U.S. Army military team brought the disease to Wuhan. The U.S. began research into modifications of SARS and COVID in 2006. But then it goes on farther, and it says this, that the truth is far different. The real work on designing COVID-19, as described below, was done at the University of North Carolina, Harvard University, and the FDC. From the abstract, here we examine the disease potential of SARS-like virus, SHCO14-CoV, which is currently circulating in Chinese horseshoe bat populations. Using SARS-CoV reverse genetic system, we generated and characterized a chimeric virus expressing the spike of a bat coronavirus in a mouse-adapted SARS-CoV backbone. So basically what they're saying is they're creating this non-resistant, more severe virus, and it somehow got out, and it's very serious. So now you got to worry about that. First it was the Chinese, then it was the American government, now it was in North Carolina. Then people say, oh, no, this is nothing. It's like the influenza B that was reported before the Wuhan virus. So nobody knows. You'll never know. But you do know this, what the after effects are, right? You do know what they're doing to us. That's all we know. So the idea is never to give you a straight story, put everything out there, let the government shills who are paid to spread all kinds of stories. It's kind of like this. Let me explain how this works to make it easy for you. Folks, this is not only a political battle, this is a spiritual battle. Now, years ago when the Jesuits first got together, and their goal was the Vatican wanted a military organization to behead all Protestants who were saying, we don't need you anymore, Rome. We can read the Bible, and the Bible's now out, the Gutenberg Press, all of these things. And what was interesting, if you go back to some of those early editions, there were even footnotes in a Bible, I think it was the Geneva Bible prior to the King James, that pinpointed perfectly that the Vatican was the Antichrist. And this was the major slogan of Protestant protest. We can't be ruled by the Antichrist and pay all this money for indulgences and things like this. So the Jesuits were formed to basically kill everybody, but they couldn't. So then they had to think of infiltration and deception. So there were two really Jesuit priests that they decided to play the game the way they play it today. One said that the Antichrist, of course, was not the Vatican, but the Antichrist will come in the future. We don't know who it will be. And in the sense that theory, that futurist theory, has populated Protestantism now. And so you're thinking, is it Hitler? Is it Dr. Fauci? Is it Trump? It could be Obama, endless things. Then there was a Jesuit priest who said, no. The Antichrist already came before, right? It was back in 100 AD or whatever. So they created these two competing theories to confuse people. But the idea was to get the attention off of the Vatican, and it worked. And that's what they're doing here with the COVID virus. They don't change. Oh, yes, they do. They do. They just get worse and worse and worse. Back in 3 minutes on the Investigatore Giornale.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app, for all of your mobile devices. Streaming First Amendment radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn, the Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, people of all races, colors, and creeds, we're back. Yeah, second half hour. Investigative Journal, the greatest show on earth. And we are the greatest show on earth because it is really better than listening to your fellow citizens walk down the street and go, stay away, stay 6 feet away, and don't breathe. Yeah, somebody actually told me that, and I've said that a few times on my show just to make my point. Is that insane? Don't breathe? What am I supposed to do? How long? I sat there for 20 minutes, died. They put me in a... Come on, lady. Don't worry about it. In fact, this lady was an American citizen walking the streets of Mexico and telling me not to breathe. I said, go back to America. She said, I can't. I can't even get across the border. That's before I was kidnapped. So let me get this straight so you know where I'm at. I just got notified by Gustavo. If you've been following my 4-part series on the Second American Revolution, come on, go ahead. That's all that really matters now. We got to do something. And I'm going to explain why in a minute. Because if you get caught up in all the little facts here about how this thing started, what it is, you're never going to figure it out. They will divide you like they did in 9/11. So the only thing that matters now is what the heck are we going to do? And that's what I'm trying to figure out here. That's why they've used me as a guinea pig. They're trying to frighten you. I've been held up for 6 days in this hotel room. Can you imagine? It's bad enough at home, you know? And I know you're feeling the same thing. I got to get out of here. We just got to go out. I mean, is it the worst thing since sliced bread? And that got me to thinking, all these crazy words. This is what happens when you sit around with nothing else to do. And there's also a nice psychological fact going on here. Maybe you got a lot of work to do, right? You're backed up. You're an online worker. And all of a sudden you say to yourself, I can't get anything done. The reason is everybody else is not working. So you go, why should I? And so you don't get anything done. You got all this time on your hands, and you never get anything done. And I really understood this a long time ago when I became a journalist. Now, I remember I used to be a magazine writer, and they'd give me all this time to write, and I just waste time. So I had an article due in 10 days, and I would just not do anything for 9 days, and then the last day, I'd write everything, wasting all those 9 days. Then they put me on a desk. I worked it was the hotline, not the hotline desk, but I was on basically I had to write a story in like 5 minutes before the newspaper went out. And man, I wrote the best stories when I didn't think about it. I only had 5 minutes to write it, and I did a lot better than I had those 10 days. So I started thinking, you know what? We waste a lot of time by thinking nonsense. And that nothing is better than this example, this study they're doing on us. I've been thinking the craziest things. I don't know about you, words that I've never thought about. Well, I think about them, but never really. And I started thinking, look at all these stupid words we have. For example, why do we say God bless you after we sneeze? I looked it up, and I know that people thought the devil was coming out of your mouth or something. But the real point is we can't say it anymore. We're going to have to say something like, the guy sneezes and goes, get to the doctor. You're a murderer. Whatever you want. You got to think of something different now. Don't say God bless you, because God did not bless this virus. Okay. So then I'm thinking other words. Well, the good one was what the devil said to the Pope, pot calling the kettle black. Did you ever see a pot call any kettle black? I've had a lot of pots. They don't talk, but we say it. I like one here. Hey, Charlie, just lock him up and throw away the key. All right. Yeah, how are you going to lock? If you throw away the key, how far can you throw it? I mean, somebody's going to get it. Maybe his friend in the other cell will get it and get him out of jail. That doesn't make any sense. How about this one? He read me the Riot Act. Riot Act? We say that how many times? What is the Riot Act? I want somebody to explain to me what the heck the Riot Act is. I've never heard the Riot. You want me to read the Riot Act to you right now? I'll read the Riot Act to you. It'll go on for like 20 years. I'll read the Riot Act. Someday, somebody's going to say, just read me the Riot Act, and I'm going to read the whole thing. I'll be here for 10 years reading it. I got so many things I get angry about now. We go through these stages. Oh, here's one. Go stick it. Have you talk to somebody, and they say to you, go stick it. Okay. Where would you like me to stick it? They never really tell you. Where would you want me to stick it? Nobody knows where to stick it. You act like I know where to stick it. I don't. I don't know where to stick it. So figure out where to, go stick it in the garbage. Go stick it. Tell me where to stick it, and I might stick it somewhere. But this is what happens when you have too much time on your hands. You got a serious problem out there. And here I am talking about stupid words that make no sense that we've used all our life, and we never really think about it. But now we got time. Got time to think about a lot of things. I got time to think about why I made a mistake and I didn't go out for the baseball team instead of the football team when I was in college. Yeah, I should have. Because then I probably would have been a Major League Baseball player. But then I wouldn't be able to play anymore because they can't play now. But then the American Revolution wouldn't be started because that's what started Slats Grobnik. He got furious. Give me baseball or give me death. But anyway, folks, here we are. Gustavo, my good cartel friend, who's, if you've been following my articles, has been my bodyguard, and he's also invited me to his hacienda if I should survive after Slats Grobnik's meeting. I don't know what's going to happen. Really, I don't. They obviously know where he's at. They're letting me do this, and this is going to be interesting to see where this all plays out. But the whole idea here is, I've had a lot of time to think about this, and I'm sure you have, but let's get together on this. It's really of paramount importance, folks, not to get caught up in the details of COVID-19. Call it what you wish. But the debates will be endless, and they will serve to divide the truth movement like they did with 9/11. Like those two Jesuit priests back in the 1500s came up with two theories of the Antichrist, which were basically designed to forget about the real Antichrist in the Vatican, and they've succeeded over the years, because now if you look at Protestantism in America infiltrated by Jesuits, nobody's protesting the Vatican. If you ask any Protestant minister, who's the Antichrist? Is that guy in Rome? Oh, they say, don't say that in this church. Is that a protest? Give me a break. That's what they do. They did it with 9/11. So the who, what, when, where, why, and how is not really, don't think about that anymore. We can't. There's too many theories. I gave you everything here over the months now. And all it's done was lead me to be in this state of obsession about just forgetting about it. That's why my comedy act has come back, because time plus tragedy, and by God, we've spent enough time locked away. 1 minute, 1 day, 1 second is enough when these idiots are telling us to. And it's so sad for me to think that people believe it, but don't. It's what's happening that's important. And we have to come up with a solution. Because if we don't, the solution may be just in your own mind, but we have to. I'm tired of thinking about Mickey Mouse's birthday. That's what they tell you on the news. The other day, turned on the news, they told me when Mickey Mouse's birthday was. I said, I don't care about that mouse. Let the mouse die. Let him eat some poison cheese. Call him the COVID virus death. I don't care about the mouse. And that's why we're in trouble in America. We got people worried about the birthday of a make-believe rodent. And people around the world are going, oh, this is America the great, the strong, the brave. They're all sitting at home, afraid of a cough, listening to these idiots tell us all these different things. That's why we're in trouble. So let's forget about the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Where concerns us now, the COVID-19, this is a bioterrorist plot somehow. Whether it's real or not, it's there. It's incidental and quite insignificant when compared, really, to the much larger reality of this, folks, really. All that really matters at this point is a critical point of the steadily, I call it as somebody else did, COVID-1984. Of their implementation plans are the immediate threats to our national sovereignty, our very being, our very soul, our very mind, body, and soul are being attacked. And the long-term consequences to our personal liberties and citizen rights. It's been a long time. If you go back to my shows, today I was sent, and I have my computer in this Kansas hotel. They give it to me for 2 hours. 1 hour to prepare for this show, another hour to do the show. And they want me to spread all this misinformation, I guess. But I'm trying to do something here that's vital. The guy sent me an article from Africa. And he said, Greg, I've been watching your shows for years. I said, geez, thank you. Please invite me to Africa. Maybe it's better there. He says, no. I said, well, I'd love to see the animals. He said, well, you're always invited. So anyway, he said, I've been studying the Jesuits for years, and I've presented many articles on the Jesuits in Africa. And so I started reading them, and they were quite interesting, very good, very well documented by this man. So I never thought, we can't, I've talked much about their infiltration in Europe and all over, but Africa, I've covered it really only from the Rwanda genocide, where the Vatican was caught red-handed, with even their priests killing people and inciting this genocide. But outside of that, I didn't know much of the history, and it was really good. And I said, God, I hope we can get to a point where we can think again about other things, because that's what's happened here. The whole world, we're not wondering what the heck they're doing, with other things that are going to lead to the long-term consequences of our personal liberties being stripped away. Because, rights are an illusion, folks. They're an illusion. America's good for two things: wars and propaganda. Your owners know you have no rights. We don't even remember what the 14th Amendment was all about and how that enslaved all of us. Everybody says, well, the black people were free, but then they put in the 14th Amendment, which enslaved everyone. You know, with invisible chains, just like this invisible virus, right? Just like the very same thing we're talking about, just in a different manner. So that's what we have to look at. It makes no difference exactly who is operationally responsible for the series of attacks carried out in China, Italy, Iran, Spain, South Korea, United States, France, Germany, United Kingdom. You know, the perpetrators have already floated so many fake conspiracies on us in both the mainstream and the alternative media that would be virtually impossible to identify the actual culprits. That's the beauty of what Luigi Franconi, the director of this sitcom reality show, has done. Point in fact, each of the nations has a well-established and powerful deep state. The Jesuits have been there. They've been kicked out many times. Now they're back, capable of coordinating and covering up any act of terrorism or wave of bioterrorism, as Operation COVID-19 has continuously perpetrated around the world since the beginning of 2019. Clearly, such a worldwide black operation could only be carried out under the rubric, remember Operation Gladio that I talk about many times? Just as the 9/11 false flag terrorist attacks were carried out. Now, Gladio is the primary terrorist arm of NATO. And this whole thing, you know, if we start talking about the weeds, getting into the weeds, we're never going to realize what they're going to do in the future. That's the whole thing. And I've looked here. As of the 20th of April, I'm looking at all the deaths or all the cases they've confirmed. I mean, it's a staggering amount. But yet, I think they've got it to a point where if you believe that, okay, it's crazy, it's a pandemic. Or if you say, well, why don't they just tell us what the flu numbers are? And if they're about the same, then what are we worried about? But the American people were always, folks, it was always my intention that this false flag terrorist operation, the target has been the American people. The New World Order cabal knows that the American Republic must be destroyed if they are successfully to form what we call the one world government here. They know this. The ruling cabal also knows that the global matrix, this 5G, creating all these smart cities, must first be fully functional. That's this whole net. That's what 5G is here to bring the world together. This Internet of Things, also a bioweapon. If the Global Security Superstate is to be efficiently established. So let's look at what they're going to do to us. Can't we stop any of this? You know, we got people obsessed with germs, right? You got me talking about starting a suicide channel. You know, I could spend hours telling you, oh, it's a great idea. I think I'll start a suicide channel. Boy, I have a lot of customers now, and I want to compete with Luigi Franconi over there with his, COVID-19 show. And boy, wouldn't a suicide channel be great on TV? I think we could get the greatest ratings. We'd have to hold it down to I was thinking of mass suicides. We have to hold it down to 10 or less. But how many people now want to kill themselves by sitting here at home all the time going, I don't want to live in a world like this. Never fear. I know we'll get a lot of callers on the suicide channel. You got to sign a little, paper that says you agree to kill yourself. We're not responsible. But that's easily done in court, so we don't have any liability. But it'd be a great show, right? People are obsessed with death and dying now. Every day you wake up, how many died? I don't want to die. I can't walk outside because I may die. And you know what? We're all going to die, one way or the other. And usually it happens when you really don't think about it. So don't worry. I've learned one thing over the years, that not everyone dies at the same time. Not if we all decided in 2 seconds to walk outside and go, I'm going outside and I don't care about this virus. I assure you, not all of us are going to die. Chances are pretty good you're going to live, just like before. So go out, do your thing. Now, if I say that, then you got other people saying, he is a health hazard. He should be shut up because this is dangerous, like that other article I just read. So that's why I say don't get caught up in the who, what, when, where, and why of this. Let's start thinking about what they're doing to us, how they're going to take away our rights. The global what are they? This is something they've been planning. The perpetrators have recklessly concocted this transparent scandemic and staged panic. They are so desperate to get this 5G. I'm thinking in terms of something else here now. So they can complete the planned build-out of the Internet of Things, which will then permit them to flip the switch on the global control matrix. Right. And it's also hazardous to your health. If you look at 5G's capabilities, it's like a weapon, military weapon, microwave weaponry at its finest. Only then can the one world government, folks, come out of the shadows, since the emerging global security superstate will provide the desperately needed police protections and enforcement actions for the power elite to control you totally, to save you. That's what they're going to say. You know, look at this. Career criminals. Let's talk about who they are. Clinton, Kissinger, you can name them. Adam Schiff, Pelosi, Obama, Biden, Trump, all of them. That's what they should be called. Their crime sprees have been exposed on the internet. And now maybe they think they're in a little bit of danger, but I don't know. You know, never in danger when you got so many competing ideas and so many people in America who will not believe the truth, because the truth as they present it really has no possibilities involved here. You can say anything. You know, COVID-1984, let's call it that. Somebody interestingly called that on the internet. But they've talked about this. The coronavirus syndrome is a bioweapon. Let's look at COVID-19. It was meticulously bioengineered where? In a U.S. military lab, infectious disease lab at Fort Detrick in collaboration with the American University System and the University of North Carolina, as well as other advanced bioweaponry research institutions throughout the United States. Okay, there's hard evidence that this, you know, whatever they're doing, you know, they want you to get caught up in the fact that you can't figure it out, it's very dangerous, or it's nothing. So it goes from one extreme to the other, and everything in between is keeping us from really what they're going to do. Now, welcome to what I call Covert 19 or 1984. It doesn't get more cold and calculating, conniving, contriving, deceitful, crafty, cunning, cagey, and keen, and just like I called it, you know, a masterminded show put on by the Jesuit director Luigi Franconi, which has created millions and billions around the world to watch and participate. And I asked, why 2020? You know, why not 2040 when I'm already out of here? You're thinking that if you're in the older part of the, if you're on your downward cycle here. But then again, we got to think what of our kids, right? Well, there are actually several reasons. They are well beyond the scope of this, you know, that what I can really get into. However, there's one extremely significant overlooked reason. They want to reshape, it's a vision quest, to reshape this civilization on the earth here. That's it. And these secret societies that I've been talking about for years, the Jesuits and the Freemasons and all of them and their frontmen have been outed like never before. Yes, I think that has something to do with it. A lot of people think about it. But yet, that could be one reason. But another reason is this, that they realize they've built up so much power and control they can get away with just about anything. So now is the time to implement the final stages. And they know they had to unleash this weaponized virus syndrome well before Election Day, November 3, 2020. You know, you're seeing the national movement in America is gaining steam. They planned this. They wanted America to, to have its last hurrah and to watch it just crumble. And now everyone will come to your rescue. Even Donald Trump couldn't do it. Their savior on the nationalist movement, right? So this is really playing out to really their advantage here now. This whole idea of bringing, not only financially did they destroy, make out, they made a killing when the stock market was at enormous high levels, and now it's, down to nothing, and they got out before everybody lost their shirts with their 401ks and things. So let's start looking really at what's happening to us and what we can do. And that's why you got to catch my show tomorrow, because Slats Grobnik, General Slats Grobnik, has an idea. He wants to start this revolution. He's got ideas that may get us out of the who, what, when, where, and why of this, get us thinking in terms of what we really can do. So I can get away from thinking about, why I don't like people who make quotation marks when they say things, or, people that don't look at me when I stop at a red light, or I hate people with hyphenated names. That's all I'm thinking about these days. And please, don't start a ribbon for this thing like you've done in every other one. And if so, there's been no toilet paper, make it brown. Back tomorrow on the Investigatore Giornale.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.